Okay, someone asked me to record this. Okay, so I'll just record that. Okay. Uh, if you can see, class, my Excel sheet is for me. It says that this is a lecturer sheet, which I have done some of the calculation part. And then for your sheet, it's empty sheet. Okay, so nothing is being done for the calculation part or for the analysis part, so that I hope you can have that particular sheet to be used for your hands-on training. Okay, so let me begin with the content that you need to understand provided in that particular Excel file. Okay, so I've already shared with you. Okay, if I go to my okay, I have already shared with you this particular Excel sheet master copy, so please download and open that particular sheet for our discussion. Okay, now continuing for what we have discussed yesterday, I believe we have covered until page, if I'm not mistaken, until page 17. Okay, so if you look at your book, okay, I've covered until more or less on page 17, which is on the, not really 17, 15, okay? The qualitative description using some of the charts that we can have, okay? So today we are going to see how we can use our data, and then we can come out with some of the analysis using the graphical form of statistics, okay? So the first sheet is, if you can see, we can have sheet 1 is for the content, sheet number 2 is for the forward, sheet number 3 Excel function. So some of the function is shared in this third sheet. And then the fourth one is the learning outcome for the qualitative analysis. So we are going to focus on sheet number 4 and number 5 for the qualitative part. Okay, qualitative part. And then we are going to finish up with the quantitative part on sheet number 6, 7, and number 8. Okay, so we can, I think this will be much very helpful for you, how we can see on doing the analysis for graphical part, for the qualitative and quantitative. Let us move to the forward. What you need to understand in the forward part. Okay, so please understand that this Excel is provided for you to show you how you can use Excel and help you out with the analysis on the graphical part, be it for the qualitative or quantitative. Okay, so as what we have discussed yesterday, we have several steps in doing the interpretation by beginning with the formulation of the questions. Okay, what will be the question that you need to answer from that data that provided to you or data that you have collected. Second, you will collect your data. Once you have collected your data, you summarize them, you put into table, then you are going to analyze them and then interpret the result at the end of the process. Okay, so that will be the forward part. Now, what will be the Excel function included into your analysis? So these are parts of the function that you may use them. Okay, you can have other function by Google at the YouTube part. Okay, but I believe the one that have been stated here are the one that mostly being used in doing chapter 1. Okay, I think it's sufficient for you for your chapter 1 analysis. Okay, so MCT reflect the numerical analysis. So we know that we have two analysis, graphical analysis or numerical analysis. So the numerical analysis, you may use measure of central tendency, that is reflecting the mean, mood, and median. And MD is measure of dispersion. Okay, later we will see what is covered under measure of dispersion. And the third one is measure of position, MP. Okay, and other function, this one will be mostly used for graphical part. Okay, so we will see how we can come up with table by using this function later on. Okay, any questions so far, class? Is it clear? Is it clear, class?
Yeah.
Okay, now what are we going to do for our qualitative analysis? So as what we have discussed yesterday, we know that we begin with our data. Okay, let's say we are beginning our data by having secondary data. Data that we found from maybe statistical report, or maybe from newspaper, from books, or whatsoever sources that you may have. Okay, now what do we want to do with the data? Okay, so learning outcome number one is describe data with graph and numerical measure. So numerical part will not be covered by today's class. So mostly on the graphical part, how we can come up with graph using Excel by using the secondary data provided to you. Okay, so what you are going to do first is to construct frequency table, okay, and graph for qualitative data. Then you have to interpret the graph that you have generated from the data. And then finally, identify the meaningful insight from that particular graph or charts that you have generated from the secondary data. Once you have covered the learning outcome number one, you are going to follow with learning outcome number two, where you have to compare two different graphs by using one single data. Means that you can have, by using one data, you can have multiple choices of graph or charts that you can use. But the way we compare the information will be based on different charts or graph that you have chosen in the beginning. Okay, we will see that part first. Okay, let us look at the example. Now, let's say you have this particular information given to you. Okay, so according to this particular sheet, this data set, okay, will not going to be used in your assignment. So if you come up with this data, so please don't use this in your assignment. So please choose another data for your assignment. So the data is downloaded from Kaggle, okay, kaggle.com. So Kaggle is one of the platform for bank data, statistical bank data, freely available for anyone to download from. Okay, so let's say we have this data. Okay, so this data, if you can see, okay, we have the first column is referring to ID, second column referring to marital status, third gender, fourth income, fifth children, I believe is number of children, and then education, followed by occupation, home owner, whether this particular respondent got home or not, and then the number of car owned by this particular respondent. So we are talking about, if let's say we are referring to this first observation, we are referring to respondent 12496. And this particular guy is married, and she is a female. Okay, the income for this particular woman is 40,000. I believe 40,000 maybe is for yearly income, and she got one children. And education, she earned her bachelor degree. And then occupation, basically skill manual. Okay, I believe maybe she involved with certain skill tasks for her jobs. And then she owned a house, she earned no car. Okay, in terms of commute distance from her house to the, I believe, to the occupation or to her office is 0 to 1 miles. And region is from Europe, and she is 42 years old, and she has no bike. Okay, so that will be the first how we can interpret about respondent 12496. And of course, you can interpret the rest of the observation where basically we have about 1000. Okay, since we have the first row is reflecting the column name. Okay, so we have our first observation in column in row 2, so means that we have 1000 respondent for this particular data. So for class, any question reflecting the table for the data class? Okay, if you got no question, since we have only 1 hour, I'm going to just save our time by fully doing the discussion part. Okay, now if you still remember marital status, what kind of data is this? What types of data that we are dealing with? Class?
True
Marital
or
status.
false?
What was that?
I think logic gates. Logic
Logic?
data. Yes. True or
Logic
false?
data?
Yes or no? Two things
Yes or
only.
no? What do we call that data? First, is it qualitative or quantitative?
It is quality.
Qualitative.
Okay, what qualitative? Under qualitative, we have several types. So under qualitative, what types of qualitative data that we are talking about right now? So it's about
Nominal.
merits, nominal. You can say as nominal since the data is only reflecting merit or single, you have two options only. You can also name it as binary data. You can call it as nominal data or binary data because the category only involve two category. That is merit or single. If I'm not mistaken, only two category. Yeah. So you can name it as nominal data or binary data. What about gender, class? What about gender?
Qualitative.
Qualitative. So if you have your data right now, you can add, you can insert one column. So put it as nominal or binary. You can name it as so gender is qualitative. Okay, but now you are talking about two category. So you can put it as binary or nominal. So to be precise, it will be binary data, right? What about income? Is it qualitative or quantitative?
Quantitative.
Yes, it is quantitative. Okay, so it is, this one is qualitative. This one also qualitative. Qualitative. So this one is quantitative. Quantitative. And we call it as, what was that just now? Numerical, right? Quantitative. Is it continuous or discrete? Class, if you can see from the figure. Is it exact value or is it with decimal point?
Exact.
Exact value. Yeah, we can call it as you can call it as continuous or discrete. In this case, let's say
Great.
we name it as discrete. Okay, discrete value. Discrete value. If you have a decimal point, you can call it as continuous. Now, what about children? Number of children, is it qualitative or quantitative? Number of children. Class,
Quantitative.
quantitative, right? Because it deals with number, quantitative. And which category? Is it discrete or continuous?
Continuous.
Discrete.
Discrete, yes.
Discrete.
Discrete because we are talking about number of children. We cannot have 2.5 children. We are talking about exact value. 1%, 2%, 3%, and so on and so forth. Okay. What about education? Qualitative or quantitative? Education. Quali or quanti?
Quali.
Yes, qualitative. 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 Is it nominal or is it ordinal, or is it binary, or is it what are the description? Yeah, which type is of qualitative data that we are talking about?
Ordinal.
Ordinal data. Why ordinal? Why ordinal?
Can be ranked.
Yes, because we are talking about education. Education can be ranked from the lowest to the uppest category. So the lowest in this part is high school, right? High school is the lowest, and the uppest class would be what? Graduate degree. Okay, so graduate degree, maybe master or PhD, is what we call the highest level of education. So we are talking about ranked category. Okay, so I don't want to waste my time talking the rest of the the variable. So we have how many variable? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We have 12 variable in this particular data set. And then we have identified some of them as qualitative and some of them as quantitative, and we can find out the specific types of this particular qualitative and quantitative data. Now, go back to our main interest, that will be how to form the graphical data. Okay, so before we go to our graphical data, some of the questioning activities that you can do when you want to begin your drafting your graphical data. Okay, graphical form of representation from your data. So we have to know about our data, we have to know about our variable, we have to know about our variability that involved in the data. So in this case class, so if we are talking about data, we know we are talking about what types of data that we are talking about. Okay, so if you are talking about variable, as what we mentioned just now, we know how to categorize our variable, and we know what kind of variability that may involve in our data, specifically in our variable per se. Okay, so when you are dealing with these particular types of table or data, you may ask what are the questions that can be answered from using this data set. So you can have, by looking at the variable provided in the data set, you can answer what types of question that you can answer from this particular variable specifically. Give one example to describe the term variability. So I'm not going to use that. Okay, since we have discussed this quite detail yesterday. What are the variable? List of the variable. Are the variable qualitative or quantitative? How do you know? So how do we present data into graphical and numerical representation? So along this way, so we hope that you can answer all the questions in the questioning activities. Now, if you look at your student sheet, okay, so the first part is using the histogram for one. So I'm using the wrong sheet. So for qualitative data, so the first activity is to plot and describe any qualitative variable. Okay, so we have to graphically present this qualitative variable either using pie chart, column chart, bar chart, group column, or group chart, or stack column or stack chart. Okay, so how do we do that? Now, looking at our data, so let's say you choose which one class. Which of your variable is reflecting qualitative data? Which one class that you wish to choose? Let's say because I have done my exercise, so just want to show you so that it will be much easier for me to discuss. So let me move back to my analysis of the qualitative variable. So let's say I choose my variable marital status. Okay, so I'm using this variable. Now, marital status, we know that we are dealing with married and single respondent. So class, before you can have your graph, okay, if let's say I choose this, and let's say I choose until, um, let's say until, to be simple, until 800 of the data. Okay, let's say I just only choose 800 of the data. Now, can I just go and insert my graph? So if I don't know what kind of graph, I do look at the recommended graph, and then I choose the one that I feel, the one that I may need to have in my charts. So let's say I choose charts and then click OK. So what happened? This is your charts. Now, is this helping you out or not? Class, remember, Excel is simplifying your job for you, but you need to do something before Excel can do his work. What is that? By simplifying the data provided in the secondary data that you have got. Okay, so now by choosing the data, by choosing the variable, and then choosing the recommended charts, it will not be helpful for the Excel to come up with the correct charts. Now what happened is that you need to come up with your table first. Now what kind of table? Okay, let me erase this first. Now we have got our table here. Remember, this is our secondary data, and we know that we have 11 variable from this particular data. Okay, now what happened is that Excel will not going to plot the graph for you if you don't provide the simplifying table for this particular data. If let's say I'm talking about marital status, then we have to come up with the data table for the marital status. What kind of table? So this is the table that I'm talking about. Okay, so you need to come up with this particular table first, where you can have your marital status, which is married or single, and the frequency. How many of our respondents, out of 1,000 respondents, how many of them are married? How many of them are single? Okay, how do we do this frequency table, class? So if you look at this particular table, class, so how do I get this value? So if I click here, so this is my what we call instruction for the Excel to calculate how many respondents that I have are married and how many respondents that I get a single. So how do I generate this, class? So just form the table. Okay, so while looking at me doing the process, you can also do your calculate your what we call frequency table on your own by using your computer, if it is okay with you. Okay, so we begin with the column name, marital status. Okay, and then we have the frequency value. Let's say I just put frequency. Now I know that the marital status are married and single, so I just type married and single. Make sure the what we call the spelling, the way we spell, are the same as what provided in the table. Married, single. Okay, because why? Later we are going to refer to that particular table in order to generate this frequency table. Now how do I calculate this? Okay, so look at here, my instruction is count if you look at the Excel function just now, we have count if. Okay, so for the count if, since we are counting one single description that will be married or single, so we use count if singular. If plural, there will be s here, but since we are counting for singular, so we just count if. Okay, so let's look at how we can use that. So how to do that? Press equal to. Equal to is for the Excel figure out that we are going to use the function inside the Excel. So what kind of function? Since we know that we are trying to count, so type count. So once you type count, so there will be list of count function. The one that I need is for the singular part. So double click this, double click. Once you have double click, it will ask you the range of the data. Where is the data located? So go to your data. Okay, begin from the first observation and then drag down into your 1000 data. So let's say I choose 1000. Okay, we stop here and then go back to your function just now. Okay, go back to your function just now. So we have put the first, that will be the range of our data, comma, and then the criteria. Since we want the frequency to calculate for merit, so you have to put what will be the criteria that you want the computer or Excel to calculate for you. So the criteria is merit. So just click merit here. Okay, so it will locate your the merit marital status, and then you can close uh, the bracket and then click enter. So it will calculate out of 1000, there are 535 merit respondent. What happened now? You can just drag. Okay, sorry. The way I drag, it should be, okay, I need to make sure that the plus sign is there. Then drag. Okay. What happened? Nothing happened. Okay. Okay, drag. Now, the way you drag, okay, once you have dragged, now what happened? You need to check. Why class? Because I did not lock now. Just now, when I click here, I can check the location of the data. Now, everything is clear. Okay. Now, every data, 1000 data are included. Okay. Now, what happened? Look at your second. Now, I'm calculating the single person right now. What happened when I drag? So, check back where the data locate. Now, see what happened? The location of the data move one observation down. So, what happened? You need to drag to the original location, or you can just lock the location of your data. By locking here, you can lock them, okay, by putting the dollar sign. Means that you are locking the location of your data and then click enter. So if let's say I delete this and then I just drag down, okay, what happened? It will definitely refer to the original data because we have already locked the location of the data. Now, once you have got your frequency, check. We know that we have 1000 data. Now, what happened? If I want to check, okay, let's say I need to calculate the total of the summation, it should be 1000. So, I just click equal sign and then I want them to sum. So sum means that I want the Excel to calculate the total value for merit and single and then click enter. What happened? I have 993 only. I did not get 1000. What happened? Go and check to your data. If you can see, oh, I figure out some of our respondents forgot or purposely did not put her or his marital status. So that's why we have missing value here. So we have missing value. Okay. So this missing value means that how many of them did not fill in the marital status class out of 1,000? Can you guess? How many of them did not put the marital status? Hello? 7, yes, 7. So 7 of them did not put their marital status. That's why we have only 993. Now, we have completed our table, so you can put nicely by clicking this particular box so that it looks nicely. If you want to put them evenly justified, click this. Okay, so nicely done. Once you have got your what we call table, now then only you can start generating your graph or charts. So let's say I just highlight this and then go into insert and then go to recommended charts. Okay, go to all charts so that you can have few options that you may have for your charts. You can choose pie chart, you can choose histogram, for example, and it will know it may some maybe some of the charts is not suitable for your data. So once you have identify it, you can check one by one. Okay, in this case, I think it's either bar chart that would be helpful for you, or it could be by using the pie chart. Okay, so let's say I just choose pie chart. You can have 2D, 3D, pie to pie. So which format that you wish to choose is up to you. Let's say I just choose the easiest form. So click OK. Now my charts look very plain as compared to my as compared to my finished chart. Okay, how do I come up with this? So go to your charts. Okay, what you can do, go to your plus sign here. Okay, and go to data label. Click this arrow to the right and then click is either you can choose here. You want to put your data inside, outside, best fit, or data call out. Okay, or you can choose more option. Okay, let's say I wish to choose the value and I want to have the percentage as well. So I want them to be, let's say, this is okay. Since the black font is not helpful, you can change the color of the font and then you can increase the size as well. Okay, so you can also put your charts title. So just insert the chart titles. Okay, you can change. Okay, you can change the title. So if I go back to my chart just now, you can have different setting. In fact, you can go to your chart design and then you can change them, or you can change according to the standard format that have been provided to you. Okay, so since I don't want them to be I want to be as what I have generated just now. Okay, you can change the legend, whether at the top, at the bottom, okay, which side that you wish to have, you can choose. Okay, let's say I just choose my graph that I have already generated. Now, go back to the learning outcome just now, how to interpret. Okay, how to interpret. Now, go back to the interpretation part. We have generated our frequency table. We have come up with our pie chart. So let's say the pie chart is the best form of charts that can be representing the frequency table that we have. And now our job is to interpret. How do we interpret these particular charts? Okay, first, you can have by commenting this. Among 1,000 respondents, more than half of the respondents are married. As simple as that. Okay? Or if you wish to be more specific, okay, out of 1,000, the second row, 54%, which is 535 respondents, are married. 46%, which is 458, are single with 7 missing data. Okay, so that will be your interpretation for second interpretation. Or you can have the third interpretation. Okay, among the respondent, more married respondents are participating in the survey as compared to single respondent. Okay, so that will be several ways on how you can interpret your data. Since in this particular pie chart, the pattern, okay, so the pattern that we can highlight may be reflecting the region, okay, that will be which one is more than which one. Okay, you can highlight that. Okay, in terms of distribution may not be very good because distribution most of the time will be related to histogram or bar chart or pie chart. Not bar chart or histogram only. Okay, trends as well as gaps may be also reflecting the histogram and charts, bar charts. Now, that will be the first one. Let's say we come up with the second variable. And the second variable is for the education. And for the education, class, let me close my door first. I forgot. Okay, for education, let me just simplify everything since you knew how to generate your frequency table. Okay, so let's say we have come up with the frequency table more or less the same, the way I calculate almost the same with the first example just now. Okay, now let's say we have the education. Now we have more in terms of the categorical value inside. So we have graduate degree, we have bachelor, we have partial college, we have high school, partial high school. Okay, so we have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now in total we have 1,000. So most of them answer the question without missing data. So let's say we want to generate, in this case, only highlight the categorical part and go to insert, go to recommended charts. Okay, you can choose. So in this case, you can choose charts. For example, this chart, for the bar chart, you can have different bar chart. So you can see different way on how the Excel will generate the table for you or the charts for you. But remember, the selection of charts will be very important for you in your interpretation part. So do not simply choose any charts without knowing what will be the information provided from the charts. So if I were to choose these particular charts, for example, let's say I'm choosing this, you need to know how to interpret your data if you wish to use these charts. Otherwise, you just choose the simplest chart so that it will be easy for you to generate. So for example, I choose this one. Okay, you can use the 3D or 2D. So let's say I choose this and I have generated just now, I have this one. So I can add my data value. Okay, for the data value is either you can use this option or you can use this chart design and go to charts where you can have the data label, okay, wherever position that you wish to have. Okay, so in this case, now if you generate your charts, in this case you have x-axis and y-axis. Just now, if you generate class, if you generate just now, if you generate using, let's say I go back to the process just now, what happened is that if I choose here, what happened? Your chart will not have the x-axis name and the y-axis name here. So I will add. How do I add? Go to axis, go to x-axis first, and then you can add. So the x-axis is referring to the frequency. So I type frequency. Okay, enter. Then for the y axis, I want to add, let's say, just to name the axis. So I put it as education status. Education status. So you will have your x-axis frequency and y-axis education status. Okay, class? So easy. Once you have got that, okay, so the way how are we going to interpret that? So you will go back to your understanding on what are the things that you want to highlight from these particular charts. Okay, now in this case, one way to interpret, okay, so this is how I interpret. Okay, let me increase the size. So how do I interpret? Most of the respondent earn bachelor degree. Where? Here. So this is the bachelor degree. Most of them got bachelor degree. Okay, and finish partial college. Why partial college? Second highest is partial college. Then the number of respondents who earn graduate degree, this one, is almost the same with respondent with high school. So this one, almost the same. Okay? And finally, minority of the respondent finish partial high school. So that will be one way of how you interpret your data. Okay, class? Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Is it clear on how to generate your charts, class?
Clear, doctor.
Okay, thank you. Now we move to quantitative. Now quantitative is a bit tedious compared to qualitative. In fact, even though I've done every semester, I need to refresh on how to calculate the what we call the the quantitative part, because it is a bit tedious in terms of how we can calculate them. Now, what do we wish to have for the quantitative variables? Now, as compared to qualitative, limited analysis can be done for qualitative data. But for quantitative data, you can use your graphical parts, graphical analysis, and you can use your numerical analysis to analyze your variable with quantitative value. Okay, so now if you can see from the learning outcomes, so I think for today, since this is the clock is now 2:47, I think I'll just manage to do one example under quantitative variable. Now I think I will complete the first learning outcome on how to visualize, describe the data with graph. Okay, on how to describe data with graph, to visualize the data set using different quantitative graph and charts, and to interpret, which is to describe shape, pattern, trend, gaps of the graph and charts. Let us see how we can do that. So learning outcome 2, 3, 4, 5, I think I will just cover that in our replacement class online that we will do later. Okay, so let us move to the a sheet of the first learning outcomes. Okay, let me increase the size of the view first so that it will be easy for you to check. Now, we are given a different data set just now. Much simpler because the data set just now got 1,000. It would be much tedious for us to calculate. Now, let us see this data. Okay, what is this data about? So you can check from this. Okay, the data is about, okay, safety analysis want to compare how well experienced and inexperienced driver. So you have experienced and inexperienced driver. That's why we have beginner, which is inexperienced driver, and we have advanced driver, that will be for experienced driver. Drive on 3 types of road: paved, gravel, and dirt. So we have paved data, paved road type, gravel road type, and dirt road types. And then what? To measure driving performance, the analyst record the time in second. So time in second. Okay. For that each driver uses to make steering correction. Okay. For each type of the road. So if you look at the data here, okay, see for the beginner in paved road, require 4 seconds to do the steering correction. For advanced paved road, require 6 seconds for correction. So you have different data for different types of driver type as well as road type. Okay, so in this case, how do I generate quantitative charts? Okay, now I want you to read on your own how to describe data graphically and numerically. Okay, so I want you to read on your own. Let us move on how to generate. So this one, questioning activities, I want you to read on your own. Now, as usual, we have to come up with our frequency table. Otherwise, okay, for some charts, you may not be able to generate using the raw data here. Okay, you may not be able to generate. Some of the charts may require you to come out with the frequency table first. Let us see how we can come up with the frequency table for continuous data. This one is categorical. This one is categorical. So the only numerical data that we have is correction time. Am I right, class? Correction time is numerical data. So in this case, it is a discrete data. So how can we come up with this table? So in this case, I've already provided to you the class boundary. Okay, so the class boundary. So if you can check on your textbook, page 11. Okay, so page 11, you can check how we can come up with this particular class boundary. Okay, so boundary, so you may check on your own. Now, let me summarize because we have only 9 minutes to complete. Now, we know that our data, go back to our data just now, look at your data. Okay, I have 4 second, 18 second, up to the 24th data, I have 17. How do I analyze my data? So the simplest one is by generating the descriptive statistic. Yeah, the descriptive statistic here. Okay, how do I come up with this? The mean, the standard error, the median, the mode. The most important one is the minimum value, maximum value, and the range, because this one will be used to generate our frequency table for our class boundary. So how to generate? Go to your data just now, highlight your data, okay, and then go to your data, and then go to data analysis. Now, let me ask you, do you have data analysis in your Excel class? Can you check for me? Do you have data analysis or no in your Excel at the moment? Can someone check? Do you have data analysis? I believe if you do not install the data analysis, you may not have this option in your Excel. Can someone give me your response? Do you have data analysis in your Excel or not? You don't have. Have or no? No. If you don't have that particular data analysis, what you can do is go to File, go to More, Option. File, More, Option, click Option. Okay, you will got this Excel option. Go to Add-ins. When you go to Add-ins, you have this option. what you need to add is your analysis toolpacks. Okay, analysis toolpacks. Okay, when you have click analysis toolpacks, okay, go to OK. Okay, so hopefully it will be added into your data analysis here, into your data. It should the the function is under data. Okay, so once you have got your data, how do I come up with the data analysis? Just now, descriptive statistic. I am looking for descriptive statistic. Click descriptive statistic, click OK, and then it requires to have the input range. So you need to identify where is your data. So highlight your data, all your data, and then click this arrow. It will go back to your what we call this window. Okay, and then the data is in column form. So click column. I'm not highlighting the label in the first row, so I did not click this. So I want the input range at certain what we call point. Let's say I choose here. I put it here. Okay, and then go back to arrow here and then click OK. Click summary statistic here and then click OK. So it will give you all the information here as what I have somewhere here. Okay, in order for me to come up with this class boundary, I need to know what is the range, minimum, and maximum. Okay, go to your page 11. In specific, you can go to page 13. This part, okay, go to page 13. How do I come up with this class boundary? Okay, I need to have class, the number of class, the width, class width here. From 2 to 7, 2 to 7 until 8 to 12, 13 to 17, until the biggest is 27. If you can see, the minimum value is 2, the maximum value is 27. It will be included in the class boundary. So, the minimum is 2, the maximum is 27. But how do I get these bins? The number of bins here is first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So in this case class, I need to come up with the class width. The class width, if you go back to your book, it will be, the formula is range divided by the number of class. So the range is the maximum minus the minimum. You will get 25. So you got 25 for the range divided by the class, number of class. In this case, I wish to have 5 class. So that's why I divide this 25 divided by 5 because I want to have 5 bins. Okay, 5 bins here just now. So if I divide 25 by 5, I get 5. So my class interval will have 5 class interval. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 5. Okay, 5 interval for the first bin. Since I stop at 7, I begin 8 for the second bin. 8, 9, 11, 12, 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 5 of them. Continue until bin number 5. So for this one, I hope it will be just straightforward for you. Now, how do I calculate the frequency? Look at the instruction here. I'm using the count if plural. Because why? I need to count the class from 2 until 7. So the way I count, I want the instruction to refer to my data. So if I were to go to my data, so it highlight all the data in the data set. So that's why I use this dollar sign. So so that when I calculate from bin number 1, bin number 2, the location of the data will not move. It will stick to the original data. But the instruction, I want to calculate greater than 2, greater than or equal to 2, but less than or equal to 7. Okay, and then enter. It will count from 2 to 7. How many data is from 2 to 7? And then you just click and then drag down. But once you have dragged down, make sure you change the value here. We are talking about the second bin. The second bin is from 8 to 12. So change greater than or equal to 8, but less than or equal to 12 for the second bin. The same goes to the third bin until the fifth bin. Accordingly, okay? So once you have generated all that, check the total should be 24. Once the total is 24, now you have correct frequency table. Now, the only part then is to generate your histogram. So your histogram, how do I generate? Go to your frequency table, go to insert, go to recommended charts, or you can simply click histogram here. Okay, once you have clicked, let's say I just click here, 2 dimension, I got here. But I want my histogram to be near to each other as what I have got here. So what happened? I click my histogram here and then go to chart design and quick layout here. You can choose the one that make them near to each other. Okay, now then you can change the layout. You can add the x-axis, add the y-axis, and you can improve the representation of your charts by clicking this plus sign. Okay, and then you can have your, you can choose the grid lines whatsoever so that it will be, you can have some what we call some of the way the presentation of the histogram will be much easier to be checked. So in my case, I put the what we call the boundary using the blank ink, so that it will be appearing much better. In fact, I can add some of the value by putting the data labels on the top of the histogram. Now, how do I interpret this in histogram? When we are talking about histogram, we are talking about the distribution of the data. So if based on the histogram, we can talk about the shape. Okay, in this case, we have the peak, and the peak is somewhere over this particular bin number 3. So this is the peak. So in this case, if I were to comment in terms of the shape, it has peak, for example. Okay, so that's how we generate our histogram. So is there any question, class, before we end the session? Let me stop the online. And is there any question, class? I'm not sure whether you are with me or not. Okay, because I can see only 18 of you. I believe the rest of them are stranded at the DK since they don't have the computer. So hopefully you can check the recording. I will share the recording maybe in my YouTube channel, so you can check the recording over there. Okay, thank you, class. Thank you very much. Do you have any class after this, class?
No.
No. Okay, so
No.
okay. Do you have any questions so far?